Hello guys, how are you doing on this Saturday here? And I will go through like a uranium update for you guys. Before I dive into that, check out the video that I did with Borak, or where he mentioned a lot of silver and gold stocks, and it's a bit of a mixed bag really. I think some of them looks absolutely fantastic, and then some of the stocks looked extremely ill. So so yeah, check it out. It's a long video, like 30, 40 minutes. You can find it, on all the platforms, I guess. And yeah, we didn't manage to do his uranium stocks update, but we are planning it to do this weekend here. We basically ran out of time there at the end. He had a backstop, so we couldn't really manage to do the part two of that whole interview with him. So again, guys, if you want more, again, you can, the YouTube and the Substack is where I do my daily updates. So become a member if you want to see, all the videos in full length. So yeah, uranium, huh? Had a decent-ish. Yeah, we're up like 3%. Cool. That's not bad. But to me here, the big thing to look for, and basically the only thing to look for on the URA chart, that is that wedge pattern there. We really need to break that and get it back above that whole support and resistance level here. So that is, as mentioned, really important. Again, we could have an undercut there for the third impulse. Right now we only have two. But hey, if we just break here straight away, I wouldn't mind at all. So right now, as we speak, we roughly need to get above 28 for me to be maybe 28.5 to be okay. This might be something, you know, go, going higher because a wedge pattern here at the top can usually leads to a move higher there. Um, and again, you could also argue that you have a head and shoulders there at the top. You don't see that quite often, but still. You saw it on gold, right? So again, if this wedge pattern here breaks, I think we're going to rally to the neckline. And then just like on gold, we are going to see some sort of pullback, consolidation before eventually breaking out. So therefore, it is extremely important for me that what is probably a right shoulder, doesn't go too low. Let's say we're going to come all the way down to here. Again, still a place to buy in my opinion because you have the long uptrend. But again, all of a sudden you have a very skewed head and shoulders, right? It's still a head and shoulders, but typically for, to have it in more like a grade A setup, you would want the right shoulder to be smaller than the left shoulder. And you can see in this case, we are basically at the exact same height, which is also very fine. But once you start to have a larger right shoulder, again, the pattern starts to appear a little bit more weaker because at the end of the consolidation you would like the bulls to be more in control. So anyway, that was a bit of a off ramp discussion there. So next week I would really like to see that 28.5 28.67 get broken and resolve that wedge pattern there. Heiken Nashi candles, we are in a bullish uptrend on the Heiken Nashi candles. That's good. Last, and volume here is also again increasing. So hey, it's not looking too bad. Short term, we are still in the risk of this being like a bear flag kind of thing, right? So that's why I really want this to be like a double bottom where you negate this short-term bear flag with a break to the upside. So if the short-term weakness gets overwhelmed by the longer-term patterns, that would be ideal. So yeah. URNM, zooming out here. Again, what URNM, all the way up to here, and that whole there, this is going straight up, basically, the entire thing, but it has stalled, quite a bit here, especially that one there, that it was devastating, that whole breakdown there, in July 2024. That took out a lot of momentum that we've been building up here and postponed it. Here we have a parallel all the way back from 2020, where we have tagged it now twice, sitting in that bull flag. So again, to say the least, this bull flag has to resolve to the upside. Then we can attack the downtrend here and hopefully break on the fourth. If we break the downtrend here, or the uptrend there, I think we're going to come all the way down to a pesky 32, being that whole, very precise, by the way, bull flag. And this is where you pick something up, right? Roughly 32.5. That's where you buy into that whole thing. So I'm just going to check here how this aligns up with anything. No, not really. So yeah, again, important week here, 2 weeks, I think, to resolve that bull flag to the upside. Then at least if we resolve, we do have like 10% in the making over the next very short term. And then ultimately, once we break the red, if we break the red, then again, you start to look at, hey, these guys up here, they are all of a sudden, coming into play. Yeah, URNJ, the juniors, within that whole yellow channel still, I'm not ruling out that we can see that tag, by the way, of roughly 17.5. If that is the case, this is where you pick stuff up. Also flagging here or in a, like a channel, and ideally we want this to break to the upside. If we are to break here short, in the short term, we only have like an ABC correction, meaning we want to get above roughly 21 here, 21.35 to be absolutely exact. Then we rally again, in my opinion, to the triangle high at roughly 26, 27. So still in a downtrend, both in URA, URNM, and URNJ. But we are seeing some short-term potential that we could roll over to the longer term. But for now, it's still not, completely happy with the charting of URA. Not gonna lie there. And the URNM divided by the spot price, we're still holding that, roughly 0.55 level. I switched over to the URNM compared to the URA because I think that's a better tell. URA has broken out. Remember, URA has a lot more components that is also in the Nukes ETF. And the Nukes ETF is no miners. By the way, I should have had it on here. Anyway, it's no miners. That is basically, internal, grid operating, services, enrichment, laser enrichment, all that good stuff. LEU, Cameco is also there. Yes, they are a miner, but they also have a whole lot of infrastructure under their assets. So again, the mining sector is much more precise when you use the URNM, in my opinion. So, but we are still holding that support and resistance level, and I'm very confident that again at some point in time we're going to break this whole thing here. Timing wise is difficult, but it is setting up to that break, and ideally we hold here. That would be extreme if we make this high or low here, all of a sudden. Again, then hey, that is fantastic, but what do we need to see in order for that to be true? Clearly, we need to hold the lows there, roughly 0.54-ish. That needs to hold. Then we have the trend line here. So we do have a little bit of a wedge going on there. And I think that will decide the big move. Hopefully, it is to the upside. So when that resolves, in my opinion, that one there, that is the time, and most likely we are going to break that with that major high, with this whole bottoming process. So when will the potential breakout to the upside or the downside happen? I will say, anywhere from now and into the absolute latest March. I don't think it will go that far. I think it will happen early February. We will see the direction of that very important ratio. Spot price here, I would assume if I were to add a Bollinger Band, we're not compressing just yet here, but again, this whole bull flag, we have been talking about it for so long, it feels like an eternity. But again, if we break the bull flag and especially also taking out roughly 28, why 28? The bull trap high over there. So it has some meaning, but the most important thing is definitely the bull flag there. And we're still just consolidating within that, but also look where we are from the very important golden uptrend. Again, this type of pattern, guys, again, I know it sounds insane to say because people are so tired and exhausted by uranium, and understandably so, me too. If you would have asked me like 2 years ago if we were at these prices, I would have said, no, we're going to be way higher given, the whole structures, but hey, we're not. But you can see here that we're coming to a point where there's not a lot of room here to run, basically. So we have a huge deciding moment upon us here for uranium. And the whole uptrend bull flag, if I were to add on the weekly here, I wanted to use the weekly because that's a bit more telling. The weekly momentum is just pointing upwards here. The 200, the 100 is still pointing up, up, up. And that to me says that we have a much more likelihood of this breaking higher. Again, it doesn't mean we can't break down and be, in a little bit of, we're going to cry a little bit if that happens, especially when if we start to take out the lows there. But again, 70-80% of the time, from what I've seen, it's going to break to the upside. And again, we haven't, this whole thing here, this whole big macro falling wedge there, usually is a dictator to that, hey, we are going to see a tag of the all-time high again, and we haven't been there. So yeah, it's going to be exciting here. I want to just briefly, again, if you have a little bit of a sparing moment here, do we have something going on internally? Nah, nothing of importance. No, I will not dive into that whole thing. The spot price here also, we have to zoom way out, way out, way out. This red one here is a giant gap from like roughly 130 down to like 100. We tagged it. Again, we started to talk about, hey, we're going to hit that gap once we started to have these patterns there, and we actually had a huge surge. Unfortunately, the miners at that point in time didn't follow that spot price boost right there. It actually underperformed heavily. But again, same thing here. We have a massive, massive surge, still flagging. We just recently popped up back above the Fukushima high over there. Again, psychologically, that is very, very important to be above. When are we happy with this chart here? Meaning, when do we say, oh, we might have a big one there? The yellow one, and then we have like a flat flag at the lows here. So I will say once we start to get above again, roughly that 77 is of importance. So right now we're still, this could be the first impulse. This whole thing, I will say, is probably the second. So either we're going to have a little bit of an overshoot there, or we have an ABC and then we're going to break out. So look for that breakout roughly around here, hopefully. Again, February, we have that triangle there. We're still above that is support now. So we have the triangle here again. 1 month of space in there still. One thing that I actually is, again, until proven otherwise, is a bit worried of is the gold to silver ratio, because if we zoom out here still, to me, this is still a very bullish chart. And in this case, it is the gold to silver ratio going up. And if we have a big spike here, I will say, every market is in great danger, especially gold and silver, obviously. But again, we have this whole triangle here. We tried twice to break down. We couldn't. We tried again. We couldn't. And now we're sitting on top here, mixed feelings there with this little bit of a tight range going on, uptrend there. So again, if we start to break here, the blue, that is not looking good. Again, we want the miners to go down, right? Excuse me, we want the ratio to go down. And we do have some resistance there, though. That's very, very important. Again, roughly, 90 is just a big one, 90. So we could hope for that whole thing there is a false breakout. The green uptrend here is what I'm watching. If that negates, let's say we're going to come down, then the mining sector is in a it's actually looking quite good at that point in time, because then all of a sudden, we are actually looking to lower prices all of a sudden in the ratio, that is. So again, I think over the next few weeks, we will have a big tell in the gold to silver ratio. And again, when the ratio spikes, that is really, really bad for the markets. That is when things are, getting hefty. URNM divided by the Cameco. Downtrend there broken. I don't know exactly what structure is being built up here, but again, the short-term half-year downtrend broken at the lows. And yes, we want this to go higher, but for now, what is happening here is a little bit too early to say. Cool. I will have this as one video, and then I will show you some uranium stocks that I think actually is close to breaking out. So have a great day, guys. Cheers. Bye.